Life can change in an instant. For 16-year-old Jake Martinez, that moment came when he spotted two suspicious men following Barron through Sterling Mall. Jake had a choice: follow the rules and keep his much-needed job at the luxury watch store, or help a boy in danger. He chose to help and lost everything, or so he thought. Within 24 hours of being fired, Jake would find himself at the center of a criminal conspiracy, a viral social media sensation, and a secret FBI investigation. But most importantly, he was about to discover that doing the right thing, even when it costs you everything, can lead to surprises beyond your wildest dreams. This is the story of how one ordinary teenage boy's decision to help a stranger changed not only his own life, but exposed a dangerous criminal organization and showed that heroes come in all ages. Jake Martinez's alarm buzzed at exactly 5:30 a.m., just like it did every morning. He quickly shut it off before it could wake his mom in the next room. She needed all the rest she could get these days. The early morning darkness filled their small two-bedroom apartment as Jake quietly got ready for work. He could hear the familiar sounds of the city waking up outside their third-floor window. Garbage trucks rumbling by, early buses whooshing past, and the first birds starting to chirp. Another day, another dollar, Jake whispered to himself as he pulled on his white dress shirt and black pants, the required uniform for his job at Morrison's Luxury Watches in Sterling Mall. The fancy mall was a whole different world from his neighborhood. But that's exactly why he'd wanted to work there. The commission on just one expensive watch could equal a week's worth of regular pay. In the kitchen, Jake found a note from his mom on the counter. "Mijo, there's breakfast in the fridge. Don't forget your lunch. Love you. Mama." He smiled, pulling out the breakfast burrito she'd made him. Even though she worked late shifts at the hospital as a cleaning supervisor, she always made sure he had good food to eat. Jake wrapped the burrito in a paper towel and grabbed his backpack. He'd eat on the bus. The number 47 bus was right on time at 6:15 a.m. Jake climbed aboard, nodding hello to Mr. Washington, the driver who'd been taking him to work for the past 6 months. "Early bird gets the worm, Jake," Mr. Washington called out with his usual cheerful greeting. "Yes, sir. That's the plan." Jake found his regular seat near the middle of the bus and pulled out his phone. He had a text from his best friend, Carlos. "Dude, you coming to practice after work?" Jake sighed as he typed back, "Can't today. Extra shift. Need the money." Carlos replied quickly, "Man, you're missing all the basketball fun. Coach keeps asking about you." Jake stared at the message for a moment before putting his phone away. He missed playing basketball with the school team, but he had to think about what was really important. His mom's cough was getting worse, and he'd seen the stack of medical bills she tried to hide in her dresser drawer. The extra shifts at the mall were more important than basketball practice. The sun was just starting to rise as the bus pulled up to Sterling Mall. The huge glass building gleamed in the morning light, looking more like a palace than a shopping center. Jake finished the last bite of his breakfast burrito and straightened his tie. Time to look the part of a luxury watch salesperson. "Good morning, Jake," called out Maria from the coffee shop as he walked through the employee entrance. She was already setting up for the morning rush of shoppers who needed their expensive lattes. "Morning, Maria. Busy day ahead?" "Always is. Hey, save me one of those fancy watches, okay?" She laughed, knowing neither of them could ever afford the watches Jake sold. Jake grinned back. "Sure thing. Just as soon as I win the lottery. A piece." Mall was quiet this early, with only the cleaning crew finishing up their night shift and store employees starting to arrive. Jake's footsteps echoed on the spotless marble floors as he made his way to Morrison's Luxury Watches. The store's glass cases were already gleaming, cleaned by the night crew. Watches worth more than his mom made in a year sat on display, their faces catching the morning light. Mr. Morrison himself was waiting when Jake arrived, looking as perfectly pressed as always in his expensive suit. "Right on time, Jake. We have a shipment of new pieces coming in this morning. I want you to handle the inventory while I update the window display." "Yes, sir," Jake said eagerly. He was good with numbers, and Mr. Morrison had started trusting him with more responsibility lately. Maybe if he kept working hard, he could earn a promotion to assistant manager by the time he graduated high school next year. As Jake carefully logged each new watch into the store's computer system, he couldn't help doing the math in his head. The cheapest watch in the store cost $3,000. His mom made about $15 an hour. It would take her 200 hours, 5 whole weeks of work, to afford just one of these watches. And some of them cost more than $50,000. But Jake tried not to think about that. Instead, he focused on doing his job well. He'd learned all about the different watch brands, their history, and what made each one special. He could tell customers about the intricate mechanisms inside mechanical watches and explain why some collections were more valuable than others. His teachers would probably be surprised to know how much he'd learned about Swiss watchmaking. The morning passed quickly as Jake helped rich customers try on watches that cost more than his family's rent. He was good at making them feel special, without being fake about it. His mom had always taught him to treat everyone with respect, no matter how much money they had or didn't have. During his lunch break, Jake sat in the food court with his packed lunch, watching the crowds of shoppers go by. Most of them carried bags from expensive stores, barely glancing at price tags before buying whatever caught their eye. Sometimes it felt like he was living in two different worlds: the fancy mall during the day and his working-class neighborhood. At night, his phone buzzed with another text from his mom. "Don't forget to pick up my prescription after work. Love you." Jake checked his wallet, counting the cash he had left. The prescription would take most of his last paycheck, but his mom needed her medicine. Maybe he could pick up an extra shift this weekend to make up for it. As he headed back to the store, Jake noticed a group of teens his age hanging out by the fountain, shopping bags piled around them as they laughed and took selfies. For a moment, he wished he could be that carefree. But he had responsibilities, and he was proud to help his family. Mr. Morrison was helping a customer when Jake returned, so he started organizing the repair orders for the day. Through the store's glass walls, he could see the usual afternoon crowd starting to build. Rich people shopping, security guards patrolling, kids pressing their faces against windows of toy stores. Just another normal day at Sterling Mall. Jake had no idea that in just a few hours, everything in his life was about to change. He noticed a tall, well-dressed boy about his age walking past the store, looking lost. Something about the boy seemed familiar, but Jake couldn't quite place him. He was about to go back to his work when he noticed 2 men in hoodies following a short distance behind the boy, trying to look casual but clearly watching him. Jake's heart started beating faster. Should he do something? It wasn't his business, and he couldn't leave the store unattended. But something didn't feel right. The lost-looking boy glanced around nervously, and suddenly Jake realized why he looked familiar. His eyes widened as he recognized Barron Trump, the president's son, and those men following him definitely weren't Secret Service agents. Jake's hands felt sweaty as he gripped the edge of the counter. The 2 men in hoodies were getting closer to Barron Trump, who was now stopping to look at his phone, completely unaware of the danger behind him. Where were his Secret Service agents? Something was definitely wrong. "Mr. Morrison," Jake called, out, trying to keep his voice steady. "I need to use the bathroom." His boss barely looked up from the display case he was arranging. "Make it quick, Jake. We've got a busy afternoon ahead." Jake's heart pounded as he walked, not ran, out of the store. Running would draw attention. He'd learned that from all the crime shows he watched with his mom. As soon as he was out of Mr. Morrison's sight, he picked up his pace. Barron was tall for his age, just like Jake, making him easy to spot in the crowd. He was wearing expensive clothes that probably cost more than Jake made in a month, but right now he just looked like a scared kid who needed help. The two men were about 20 feet behind Barron now. They wore dark hoodies pulled low over their faces, definitely suspicious for an upscale mall on a warm day. One had a tattoo peeking out from his sleeve, and the other kept his right hand in his pocket, like he might be holding something. Jake's mind raced. He couldn't just grab the president's son. That would probably get him arrested or worse. But he had to do something. He thought about his mom's voice. Sometimes doing the right thing is scary, mijo, but that's what makes it brave. Taking a deep breath, Jake walked quickly until he was right beside Barron. "Hey," he said in a friendly voice, like he was greeting an old friend. "I've been looking all over for you. Come on, we're going to be late." Barron started to step back, confusion and fear flashing across his face. Jake leaned in closer and whispered urgently, "I work here at the mall. There are two men following you. Don't look back. Just act like you know me and come with me right now." Something in Jake's voice must have convinced him, because Barron gave a tiny nod. "Oh, yeah. Sorry," he said loudly. "I lost track of time." Jake could feel the men's eyes on them as he guided Barron toward the service corridor near the food court. His heart was beating so hard, he was sure everyone could hear it. The door to the service hallway required an employee key card, which Jake always wore on a lanyard, under his shirt. "Almost there," Jake muttered, trying to sound calmer than he felt. "Just act normal." He risked a quick glance behind them. The two men had split up. One was heading straight for them, while the other was circling around toward the food court entrance. They were trying to cut off any escape routes. Jake's fingers trembled as he pulled out his key card. If he was wrong about all this, he'd probably get arrested for trying to kidnap the president's son. But if he was right, the key card reader beeped, and Jake pulled Barron through the door into the service corridor. As soon as the door clicked shut behind them, Jake started running, pulling Barron with him. "Where are we going?" Barron asked, his voice shaking slightly. "Security office," Jake panted as they ran. "It's through here and down one level. There's no public access, so those guys can't follow." The door behind them banged open. Heavy footsteps echoed in the concrete corridor. "Run!" Jake shouted, no longer worried about staying quiet. They sprinted past confused maintenance workers and storage rooms, their footsteps echoing off the walls. Jake knew these back corridors from his early morning shifts, when he sometimes helped the maintenance crew move heavy boxes. Right now, that knowledge might save their lives. They turned a corner, and Jake saw the service elevator ahead. Next to it was a door marked "Stairs, Employees Only." Jake yanked it open and pushed Barron through. "Down one floor," he gasped. "Security office is right at the bottom." They took the stairs two at a time, the sound of pursuit getting closer. Jake's dress shoes weren't made for running, and he nearly slipped on the metal stairs. Barron grabbed his arm, helping him stay upright. They burst out of the stairwell into another corridor. Jake could see the security office just ahead, its door propped open as usual. Light and voices spilled out into the hallway. "Help!" Jake shouted as loud as he could. "Security!" Everything happened very fast after that. Security guards poured out of the office. Behind them, Jake heard their pursuers skid to a stop and run back up the stairs. Within seconds, the corridor was filled with serious-looking men in dark suits who seemed to appear out of nowhere. The Secret Service, finally, showing up. "Are you hurt?" one of them demanded. checking Barron over while others spoke rapidly into their radios. "I'm okay," Barron said. "He helped me." He pointed at Jake, who suddenly found himself surrounded by agents. "How did you know?" one of them asked sharply. "Who told you to bring him here?" Jake's mouth felt dry. "Nobody told me. I just saw those guys following him, and something didn't look right. I work here at Morrison's Watches. You can check." "We'll need to verify your story." The agent cut him off. "You'll have to come with us." Jake's stomach dropped. "Please, I need to let my boss know where I am. He doesn't know I left the store. I could lose my job." The agents exchanged looks. One of them spoke quietly into his radio, then turned to Jake. "We'll send someone to inform your supervisor. Right now, we need you to tell us everything you saw." As Jake was led into a small office for questioning, he caught a glimpse of Barron being hurried away by another group of agents. The younger Trump turned back for a moment and mouthed, "Thank you," before disappearing around a corner. Jake sat in an uncomfortable chair while agents asked him the same questions over and over. What exactly had he seen? Why had he decided to help? How did he know about the service corridors? Each time, he told the truth, trying not to think about what Mr. Morrison would say when he found out Jake had abandoned his post. Finally, after what seemed like hours, they let him go. An agent walked him back upstairs to Morrison's luxury watches. The mall was quieter now, and Jake realized with a shock that it was almost closing time. Mr. Morrison was waiting, his face unreadable. "Jake," he said stiffly, "I need to see you, in my office." As Jake followed his boss to the small office in the back of the store, he knew what was coming. He'd broken the biggest rule: never leave the store unattended. It didn't matter that he'd had a good reason. Rules were rules. He thought about his mom, about the bills piling up at home, about her medicine. What would he tell her? Mr. Morrison closed the office door and turned to face him. "Jake, I'm afraid we need to talk about what happened today." Jake's stomach felt like it was full of rocks as Mr. Morrison sat down behind his desk. The small office suddenly seemed too warm, too cramped. Through the window, Jake could see the last customers leaving the store as the mall prepared to close. "The Secret Service agents explained what happened," Mr. Morrison began, straightening a stack of papers on his desk. "They said you helped prevent a potentially dangerous situation." Jake's heart lifted slightly. Maybe this wouldn't be so bad after all. "However," Mr. Morrison continued, his voice growing stern, "you left the store completely unattended for over 45 minutes, with over $2 million worth of merchandise on display." "Sir, Jake started to explain, but Mr. Morrison held up his hand. "Store policy is very clear, Jake. No employee is ever to leave their post without proper coverage, not for any reason." He sighed heavily. "You know this. We went over it extensively in your training." Jake's throat felt tight. "But sir, I saw someone in danger. I couldn't just—" "You could have called security. You could have alerted mall management. You could have done any number of things that didn't involve abandoning your post." Mr. Morrison pulled out a form from his desk drawer. "I'm sorry, Jake, but I have no choice. We're going to have to terminate your employment, effective immediately." The words hit Jake like a physical blow. Terminated. Fired. No more job. No more paychecks. "Please, Mr. Morrison." Jake's voice cracked slightly. "My mom, we really need this job. I promise nothing like this will ever happen again." "My hands are tied," Mr. Morrison said, pushing the termination form across the desk. "Insurance regulations are very strict. If anything had been stolen while you were gone, the store wouldn't have been covered. I could lose my entire business." Jake stared at the form, his vision blurring slightly. All he could think about was his mom's face when he told her. The stack of medical bills. The rent due next week. "You'll receive your final paycheck by mail," Mr. Morrison said, his voice softening slightly. "And Jake, for what it's worth, I think you did a brave thing today. I'll be happy to provide a reference for your next job, just not for anything involving security or valuable merchandise." The walk home felt longer than usual. Jake had missed his regular bus while being questioned by the Secret Service, and he couldn't afford to waste money on a rideshare. As he walked, his phone buzzed with a text from his mom. "Did you pick up my prescription?" Jake stopped walking, a new wave of panic hitting him. He'd completely forgotten about the prescription. In all the chaos, the pharmacy would be closed now, and he didn't have enough money for it anyway. Not after this was his last paycheck. "Sorry, Mama. Pharmacy was closed. I'll get it tomorrow." He hated lying to her, but he couldn't tell her about losing his job. Not yet. Not over text. Their apartment building looked gray and tired in the evening light. Jake could smell someone cooking dinner as he climbed the stairs. Probably Mrs. Rodriguez in 3B making her famous enchiladas. Usually, the smell made him hungry. Today, it just made his stomach hurt worse. He found his mom sitting at their small kitchen table, still in her hospital cleaning staff uniform. She was holding a piece of paper and crying. "Mama?" Jake rushed to her side. "What's wrong? Are you okay?" She quickly wiped her eyes. "Oh, mijo, I didn't hear you come in." She tried to hide the paper, but Jake caught a glimpse of the hospital letterhead. "It's nothing, just some paperwork from work." "Mama, please," Jake said, sitting down next to her. "Tell me what's wrong." She hesitated, then handed him the paper. It was a medical bill. A big one. The number at the bottom had more zeros than Jake had ever seen on a bill before. "The insurance won't cover all the tests," she said quietly. "And the doctor says I need more." Jake felt like he couldn't breathe. "We'll figure it out, Mama. I'll pick up more shifts at the mall, maybe ask for a raise." The words stuck in his throat. He didn't have a job anymore. He'd lost their main source of extra income right when they needed it most. His mom must have seen something in his face. "Jake? What's wrong?" He couldn't hold it in any longer. The whole story came pouring out, recognizing Barron Trump, seeing the suspicious men, the chase through the service corridors, the questioning by Secret Service, and finally, being fired. "When's eating to you?" he finished. The kitchen was quiet except for the distant sound of traffic outside their window. Jake couldn't look at his mom. He'd let her down. He'd chosen to help a stranger instead of protecting their family's security. Then he felt his mom's arms around him, pulling him into a tight hug. "My brave, wonderful boy," she whispered. "You did the right thing. But Mama, the bills, your medicine. We'll figure it out," she said firmly. "God never gives us more than we can handle." Jake wanted to believe her, but as they sat there in their small kitchen, the unpaid bill lying between them, he wasn't so sure. His phone lay silent on the table. No calls from the White House, no thank you messages, no job offers. Just another poor kid who'd lost his job trying to do the right thing. Then the phone rang. The number was blocked. Jake almost didn't answer it, but something made him pick up. "Hello," he said. A deep voice responded, "Is this Jake Martinez?" "Yes." "Please hold for a moment." Jake's heart started beating faster. He looked at his mom, who was watching him with concern. Then a new voice came on the line. A voice Jake recognized from TV. His eyes widened. "Young man," the voice said, "we need to talk about what happened today at the mall." Jake nearly dropped the phone. He knew that voice. It was James Cooper, the head of the Secret Service. He'd seen him on TV giving speeches about protecting the president's family. Yes, sir, Jake managed to say. His mom was watching him with wide eyes, mouthing, "Who is it?" "I'm sending a team to your location," Cooper said. "They'll be there in approximately 10 minutes. We need to discuss some sensitive information about today's incident." Jake's mind raced. Were they going to arrest him? Had he broken some law by helping Barron? "Am I in trouble?" he asked, his voice shaking slightly. There was a pause on the line. "No, son, you're not in trouble. But what you witnessed today is part of something much bigger. My agents will explain everything. Please don't leave your apartment." The line went dead. Jake lowered the phone slowly and explained the call to his mom. "The Secret Service is coming here?" She jumped up, looking around their small apartment with panic. "Dios mío, the place is a mess!" Despite his nerves, Jake couldn't help smiling. Their apartment could be falling apart, and his mom would still worry about what visitors thought of her housekeeping. Exactly 10 minutes later, there was a knock at their door. Jake opened it to find 3 people in dark suits, 2 men and a woman. They showed their badges and introduced themselves as Agents Chen, Rodriguez, and Taylor. "Mrs. Martinez," Agent Rodriguez said kindly to Jake's mom, "would you mind if we spoke with your son privately?" Jake's mom drew herself up to her full height, which wasn't much. "With all due respect, my son is 16. Anything you need to say to him, you can say in front of me." The agents exchanged looks, then nodded. They all sat down in the small living room. The agents perched somewhat awkwardly on their worn couch, while Jake and his mom took the chairs. Agent Chen opened a laptop. "Jake, we're going to show you some surveillance footage from the mall. We need you to confirm what you saw." The screen showed different camera angles of Jake's encounter with Barron and the chase through the service corridors. The footage was clearer than Jake expected. He could even see the worried look on his own face as he approached Barron. "Now," Agent Taylor said, "we're going to show you some images. Tell us if you recognize anyone." They showed Jake photos of various men. When they got to the 4th picture, he sat up straighter. "That's one of them. The guy with the tattoo on his arm." More photos. "And that one, he's the other man who was following Barron." Agent Rodriguez nodded grimly. "Marcus Delgado and Ray Keller. They're part of a criminal organization we've been tracking for months. They specialize in high-profile kidnappings for ransom." Jake's mom gasped, grabbing his hand. "What we're about to tell you is classified," Agent Chen continued. "These men have been trying to get close to Barron Trump for weeks. They've studied his routines, his security detail, everything. Today, they managed to create a diversion that temporarily separated Barron from his protection team. If you hadn't intervened," Agent Taylor added, "they might have succeeded in their plan. Your quick thinking and knowledge of the mall's layout disrupted a very sophisticated operation." Jake tried to process this information. "But why are you telling me all this?" "Because we need your help," Agent Rodriguez said. "We've arrested Delgado and Keller, but their organization is still out there. And now they know who you are." A chill ran down Jake's spine. Through the thin walls of their apartment, he could hear Mrs. Rodriguez's TV playing next door, the familiar sounds of their building suddenly seeming less comforting. "What do you mean they know who he is?" Jake's mom demanded, her voice sharp with fear. "They've identified him from the mall footage," Agent Chen explained. "We're monitoring their communications. They view Jake as a threat now, someone who ruined their carefully planned operation. We're setting up protection for you and your family," Agent Taylor assured them quickly. "But we also need your assistance. You saw something today that could help us bring down this entire organization. They showed Jake more photos, cars, buildings, people. He identified what he could, describing every detail he remembered about the men who had chased them. As they worked, Jake's phone kept buzzing. He glanced at it during a break and saw dozens of notifications. Someone had posted mall security footage of him helping Barron on social media, and the story was spreading fast. Great, Agent Rodriguez sighed when Jake showed them. We were hoping to keep this quiet a little longer. Jake opened one of the news articles about him. Teen hero fired after saving president's son. There was a photo of him in his Morrison's Watches uniform, probably from the mall's security cameras. The comment section was filled with people angry about him losing his job. Don't worry about the media attention, Agent Chen said. We'll handle that. Right now, we need to focus on keeping you safe while we build our case. They spent hours going over security procedures. Jake and his mom weren't to talk to anyone about what had happened. They should vary their routines, avoid being alone in public places, and report anything suspicious immediately. The agents installed new locks on their doors and windows and gave them special phones with direct lines to the Secret Service. It was past midnight when the agents finally left. Jake's mom hadn't said much during the last hour, and he was worried about how pale she looked. "Mama, you should get some rest," he said. "You have work tomorrow." She shook her head. "I'm calling in sick. I'm not leaving you alone after what they told us. But we need the money." "Money isn't everything, mijo," she said firmly. "Your safety is what matters." Jake lay awake in bed that night, his mind spinning with everything he'd learned. Criminal organizations, kidnapping plots, protective details. It felt like he'd stepped into some kind of movie. But this was real, and somehow he'd landed right in the middle of it. His new secure phone buzzed on his nightstand. Another unknown number. Jake's hand shook slightly as he answered it. "Hello? Jake Martinez?" It was a woman's voice this time, one he didn't recognize. "My name is Sarah Mitchell. I'm a reporter with the Washington Post. We're running a story about what happened at the mall today." And Jake hung up, following the agent's instructions. But a minute later, the phone buzzed again, and again, and again. Around 3 a.m., one last message came through on his regular phone. This one didn't have a name or number attached, just 6 words that made his blood run cold. "You should have minded your business." Jake's hands trembled as he took a screenshot of the threatening message and sent it to Agent Rodriguez's secure number. Within minutes, his phone rang. "We've traced the message," Agent Rodriguez said, without preamble. "It came from a burner phone, but we're working on it. Are you okay?" "Yeah," Jake lied, trying to keep his voice steady so he wouldn't wake his mom in the next room. "Just having trouble sleeping." "That's understandable. Listen, Jake, things are going to get complicated tomorrow. The story has gone viral." "What do you mean?" "Check your regular social media, but don't respond to anyone. We'll talk more in the morning." Jake opened Instagram, and his eyes widened. His normally quiet account had exploded with thousands of notifications. The mall security footage of him helping Barron had been shared millions of times. Jake the Hero was trending on Twitter. He scrolled through post after post. This kid lost his job for saving the president's son. RT to help him get it back. Who fires someone for being a hero? Boycott Morrison's watches. Jake Martinez is what America is all about. Doing the right thing no matter what. There were news articles from major websites, all with variations of the same headline. Teen hero fired for saving Barron Trump. Some had found his old basketball team photos and interviews with his former coaches. Others had dug up his academic, awards, and honor roll mentions. Jake felt dizzy. How had this happened so fast? The sun was barely up when someone started pounding on their apartment door. His mom rushed into his room, looking scared. "It's okay," a familiar voice called. "Agent Taylor here." They opened the door to find not just Agent Taylor, but also Agents Chen and Rodriguez. They quickly came inside, closing the door behind them. "We need to move fast," Agent Chen said. "There are reporters gathering outside your building. Your story is the top trending topic on every social platform." Jake's mom turned on the TV, and there it was, their apartment building on the morning news. Reporters were interviewing their neighbors about the teen hero who lived in 3C. "Morrison's watches is getting slammed on social media," Agent Taylor reported, showing them her phone. Their Yelp page is flooded with one-star reviews. People are organizing protests outside the mall. "But I don't want all this attention," Jake said. "Can't you make it stop?" The agents exchanged looks. "It's too late for that," Agent Rodriguez said gently. "But we can help you manage it. Right now, our priority is keeping you safe. The media attention makes you an even bigger target for the organization we're investigating." Jake's regular phone was going crazy with calls and messages. Old friends from school, distant relatives, reporters, talk shows, everyone wanted to talk to him. His mom's phone rang. It was her supervisor at ABT, the hospital. "Maria," the supervisor said when she answered, "why didn't you tell me your son was the mall hero? Take as much time off as you need. With pay, of course. And don't worry about those medical bills we discussed. The hospital board is working something out." Jake watched his mom's face as she hung up. She looked stunned. "They're going to help. With the bills," she whispered. "They said it would be bad publicity to make the hero's mother pay when she works for them." Before Jake could respond, Agent Taylor's phone buzzed. She read the message and raised her eyebrows. The White House press secretary just released a statement thanking Jake for his bravery and condemning Morrison's watches for firing him. "Speaking of which," Agent Chen added, "Mr. Morrison has been trying to reach you. He wants to offer you your job back, with a promotion and a raise." Jake shook his head. "I don't want it. Not after how he treated me." More calls kept coming. A local car dealership wanted to give him a free car, even though he didn't have his license yet. A clothing company offered a sponsorship deal. 3 different colleges said they were interested in offering him scholarships. "This is too much," Jake's mom said, sitting down heavily. She looked pale again, and Jake noticed she was coughing more than usual. "Mama, did you take your medicine?" he asked quietly. She shook her head. "The pharmacy." "I'll handle it," Agent Rodriguez said, overhearing them. "Give me the prescription information." By midday, their small apartment was command central for what the media had dubbed the Jake Martinez story. The agents had set up security outside the building to keep reporters away. Jake's social media accounts had gained hundreds of thousands of followers. "Thank you, Jake" was the #1 trending topic worldwide. Then came the message they'd been waiting for. Agent Chen's phone lit up with an alert. "We've got something," she said. "The threat Jake received last night, we traced it through some back channels. It led us to a warehouse in Maryland. We think it's their base of operations." The mood in the room instantly shifted from managing media chaos to serious investigation. "Jake," Agent Rodriguez said, "we need you to look at some photos. They're from surveillance of the warehouse. See if you recognize anyone." As Jake looked through the photos, his mom suddenly grabbed his arm. "Mijo, that man, isn't that—" Jake stared at the image. In the background of a shot of the warehouse entrance, partially hidden behind a truck, was a face he recognized. But it couldn't be. It didn't make sense. "That's impossible," he whispered. The face belonged to someone he saw almost every day at the mall. Someone who had access to security cameras, employee schedules, and all the back corridors. Someone who had fired him just hours after he'd stopped their kidnapping plan. Before Jake could say the name out loud, there was a loud crash from outside. Car alarms started blaring. People screamed. Agent Taylor ran to the window. "We've got trouble," she said sharply. "Multiple armed suspects approaching the building. This isn't a random attack. They're coming for Jake." The power in the apartment went out, plunging them into sudden darkness. In the distance, sirens began to wail. Jake's secure phone lit up with a message. "Time to finish what we started at the mall." "Get down!" Agent Rodriguez shouted, pushing Jake and his mom away from the windows. In the darkness, Jake could hear heavy footsteps on the stairs outside. "Fire escape," Agent Chen commanded, pulling out her weapon. "Taylor, get them out. We'll hold them here." Agent Taylor grabbed Jake's arm with one hand and his mom's with the other, guiding them toward the window that led to the fire escape. Behind them, Jake heard the apartment door splinter. Gunshots exploded through the darkness. Jake's mom screamed. Agent Taylor shoved them through the window onto the metal platform outside. "Down!" she ordered. "Fast as you can." The fire escape rattled as they descended. Jake helped his mom, who was breathing heavily from the exertion. 3 floors up didn't usually seem very high, but right now it felt like climbing a mountain in reverse. They were halfway down when a bright light blazed from below. A helicopter appeared, its spotlight illuminating them on the fire escape. Jake thought they were done for, until he saw the letters on the side, FBI. "This is the Federal Bureau of Investigation," a voice boomed from the helicopter. "The building is surrounded. Drop your weapons and surrender." More helicopters appeared. Bright lights flooded the entire block. Jake could see SWAT teams moving. "In!" Their weapons trained on the building. "Keep moving," Agent Taylor urged them. "Almost there." They reached the bottom of the fire escape just as a line of black SUVs came screeching around the corner. Men in suits poured out. More secret service agents. And from the lead car stepped a tall figure Jake recognized immediately. James Cooper, the head of the Secret Service himself. "Get them in the car," Cooper ordered. "Now!" Jake and his mom were rushed into one of the SUVs. Through the bulletproof windows, they watched as the FBI and Secret Service stormed the building. Within minutes, they were speeding away from the ID scene, part of a heavily armed convoy. "Are you both all right?" Cooper asked from the front seat. Jake nodded, still trying to process what had happened. His mom was shaking, and he held her hand tight. "Where are we going?" Jake asked. "Somewhere safe," Cooper replied. "And somewhere you'll get some answers." The convoy drove for almost an hour, taking random turns and doubling back several times to make sure they weren't being followed. Finally, they turned into what looked like an abandoned warehouse district. But when they drove through a hidden entrance in one of the buildings, Jake's jaw dropped. Inside was a high-tech facility that looked like something out of a spy movie. Dozens of agents sat at computers, monitoring wall-sized screens filled with surveillance feeds and data. "Welcome to one of our safe houses," Cooper said, as they were led through security checkpoints. "We've been tracking this criminal organization for months from here. And thanks to you, Jake, we finally have them." They were taken to a comfortable room with couches and a kitchen area. Medical staff checked them over, while agents briefed them on what had happened. The raid had been successful. The entire criminal organization had been caught, including the ringleader, Mr. Morrison, Jake's former boss at the watch store. "He used the store as a front," an agent explained. The watches were real, but they were also a perfect way to launder money from their kidnapping operations. Morrison used his position to gather intelligence on wealthy families who shopped there. All those times he made me memorize customer details, Jake realized. He wasn't training me for sales. He was using me to gather information. Exactly, Cooper said. And when you disrupted their attempt to kidnap Barron Trump, you gave us the opening we needed. We've been building a case for months, but we could never catch them in the act. Until today. Jake's mom, who had been quiet for a while, suddenly spoke up. But why bring us here? Why not just take us to a regular safe house? Cooper smiled. Because someone wants to thank Jake personally. The door opened and Jake stood up automatically. His mom gasped. President Trump walked in, followed by Barron and First Lady Melania. So you're the young man who helped my son, the president said, extending his hand to Jake. We owe you a debt of gratitude. Jake shook his hand, barely able to speak. Barron stepped forward next. Thank you, he said simply. You saved my life. The First Lady hugged Jake's mom, who started crying. Your son is a hero, she said. And we want to help you both, President Trump nodded. We understand you're having some medical issues, Mrs. Martinez. Consider all your bills taken care of. And Jake, I hear you're interested in law enforcement? Jake nodded, finding his voice. Yes, sir. I've always wanted to help people. How would you like to join our youth training program at the Secret Service? It's very selective, but I think you've more than proved yourself. Full scholarship to any college you choose afterward, of course. Jake couldn't believe what he was hearing. His mom was crying harder now, but they were happy tears. There's more, the president continued. We've arranged for your mom to get treatment at the best hospital in the country. And we've found you, both a new apartment in a secure building, rent-free. It was like all their problems were being solved at once. Jake felt dizzy with relief and amazement. But one question still nagged at him. Sir, he asked, how did you know the criminals would come for us tonight? How did you have everyone ready? The president and Cooper exchanged looks. That's the interesting part, Cooper said. We received an anonymous tip from someone inside their organization. Someone who'd been working undercover for years, gathering evidence. They couldn't blow their cover by stopping the kidnapping attempt themselves. But, he paused, and Jake suddenly understood. Wait, he said. You mean... The door opened again, and one more person walked in. Someone Jake had seen every day at the mall. Someone who had secretly been watching over all of them. Hello, Jake, they said. I think it's time you learned the whole story. Maria from the coffee shop stood in the doorway, but she looked completely different. Gone was her coffee shop uniform, replaced by professional clothes. She held up an FBI badge. Special Agent Maria Ramirez, she introduced herself formally. I've been undercover at Sterling Mall for 3 years, investigating Morrison's organization. Jake's mouth fell open. Every morning she had served him coffee with a smile. They had joked about expensive watches. She had been right there all along, watching everything. You? He managed to say. But you were just a barista. Maria smiled. Best cover there is. Everyone talks freely around the coffee shop, girl. I saw everything that happened in that mall, including you, Jake. I watched you grow from a nervous new employee into someone who always did the right thing, no matter what. She sat down across from Jake and his mom. When Morrison hired you at the watch store, I was worried. I knew he used young employees to gather information about wealthy customers, but you were different. You genuinely cared about helping people. So that day, With Barron, Jake began. I saw Morrison's men moving into position, Maria explained. I couldn't blow my cover. We were too close to bringing down the whole organization. But I knew you were working that day. I'd seen how you handled difficult situations. So I made sure Barron's path took him past the watch store. President Trump leaned forward. You gambled my son's safety on a teenage boy? With all due respect, Mr. President, Maria replied calmly, I gambled on someone I knew had more courage and integrity than most adults I've met. And I had 3 armed FBI agents in position to intervene if needed. But Jake proved me right. Jake's mind was spinning. But why didn't you stop them before? Why wait until they tried to kidnap Barron? Because we needed to catch them in the act, Cooper explained. Morrison was too smart, too careful. He kept his hands clean while others did the dirty work. We needed solid evidence connecting him directly to a kidnapping attempt. When you disrupted their plan, Maria continued, Morrison made his first mistake. He fired you immediately, which made no sense for a simple policy violation. It drew attention. People started asking questions. His organization began to panic. And that's when they started making more mistakes, Cooper added. They exposed their whole network trying to contain the situation. Every time they made a move against you, we gathered more evidence. Jake's mom spoke up. But you put my son in danger. Those men could have hurt him. I know, Maria said softly, and I'm sorry for that. But Jake was never alone. We had agents watching him every minute. When the organization finally moved against him tonight, we were ready. President Trump cleared his throat. Which brings us to now. Agent Ramirez here tells me you might have a future in law enforcement, Jake. What do you think about joining the FBI instead of the Secret Service? Jake looked at Maria, then at his mom. Could I have time to think about it? Of course, the president said. You've got a full scholarship waiting whenever you're ready. Both agencies would be lucky to have you. And don't worry about your mom's medical care, Maria added. The FBI has a special fund for families who help bring down major criminal organizations. You qualify for full coverage. Jake's mom started crying again, and this time Jake felt tears in his own eyes too. All those months of worrying about bills, about her health, about their future, it was over. Barron, who had been quiet, suddenly spoke up. Dad, can Jake come to the White House sometimes? You know, just to hang out? The president laughed. I think that could be arranged, after proper security clearance, of course. The next few hours passed in a blur. Jake and his mom were taken to their new apartment, a beautiful, secure building where many law enforcement families lived. Their few belongings had already been moved over. The kitchen was fully stocked, and there was even a new laptop for Jake's schoolwork. That night, as Jake lay in his new bed, his phone buzzed one last time. It was a text from Maria. You know what made me sure you were special, Jake? That first day at the mall, when you held the door for an elderly woman struggling with her bags. No one else even noticed her. But you did, because you always notice people who need help. That's not something that can be taught. It's who you are. The FBI would be honored to have you, when you're ready. For now, just be a kid. You've earned it. Jake smiled, looking around his new room. On his desk sat 2 framed items, his old Morrison's watch's name tag and his new official White House visitor's pass. Next to them was a letter confirming his mom's first appointment at Johns Hopkins Hospital next week. From his window, he could see the capital city sparkling under the stars. Somewhere out there, Mr. Morrison and his criminals were sitting in jail cells. Maria was probably working on her next undercover assignment. And tomorrow, Jake would go back to being a regular high school student. Just one, with some very unusual friends. His mom appeared in his doorway. She looked better already, standing straighter without the weight of their worries. "Mijo," she said softly, "I am so proud of you." Jake got up and hugged her tight. "I love you, Mama." As they stood there, Jake thought about everything that had happened since that moment in the mall when he'd had to make a choice. He'd lost his job, faced danger, and uncovered a criminal conspiracy. But he'd also found his future path, helped take down bad guys, and made sure his mom would be okay. All because he'd done the right thing, even when it was hard, even when it seemed like everything was going wrong. Sometimes the biggest adventures start with the smallest choices. Sometimes being a hero just means being yourself and helping others, even when it costs you something. And sometimes, Jake smiled, thinking of Maria's years of serving coffee while secretly fighting crime. The most ordinary-looking days turn out to be the most extraordinary of all. Thanks for reading along. I'm curious, where in the world are you listening from? Drop your location in the comments below. If you enjoyed Jake's incredible journey from ordinary mall employee to unexpected hero, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more amazing real-life stories that will warm your heart and restore your faith in humanity. Until next time, remember, sometimes the bravest thing we can do is simply help someone in need, even when it's not easy. See you in the next story.